and then he takes the guy and pushes him against the wall. And
Guys,
then alter.
guys, I have terrible, terrible news.
Oh, did that stream stop?
We've hit a disaster in that I went to the comments just to kind of check, and D Go, thank you a million. Because he said, I'm so sorry, I can only hear John's mic. Jose and Ro are muted. There is a setting here. You are unmuted now.
Oh wow! Did we
So we've just wasted 40 minutes of people's time, anyone's time who happened to be watching. Um,
It happens.
Goodness gracious. Do we do it all over again? Do we pull a Groundhog's Day and start over from scratch?
We have been given this wondrous opportunity.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I mean, like,
I'm sorry to anyone who
check first if it's
put
gonna
up-
work.
we keep trying to fix the show, and like, goodness gracious, this happened.
Rome wasn't built in a day, yo.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Hey, watch it.
it's fine.
Like my compatriots here have had wonderful things to say throughout the stream, and I'm so sorry that all you could hear was me occasionally going, "Hey Jose, let Rochelle say something."
Can we just acknowledge that it's funny that this happened on the day we finally nailed down my audio?
I know, right? We finally kind of figured out how to balance the incoming audio better, and wow, that's kind of a wash of an episode. I feel like I've hit the depression stage.
The denial.
Denial.
It's pretty low stakes. We've only got 4 watching, and I think at least 2 of them are us. So thank you, D Go. I'm not sure who you.
She called me Ro.
Oh yeah, thank you, Destiny.
Yeah.
You tried to save the show. I wish I'd checked soon. We have to monitor comments better.
Yeah.
I'm taking a look.
Let's go with that. It's okay. It's okay. We could just let's just start over. Fuck it. You know what? And we didn't even introduce ourselves.
Oh, we've just been messing up all over the place. I'm your host, John Olson. I'm joined today. What's the time mark? Let's make a note.
12:37.
Okay, so we'll put a note in the comments to like skip ahead to 40 minutes into the show. Good God.
Do the introductions.
Hi, Deanna. You are the best. I should have known. At least I knew. Deanna is one of my acting classmates, and she is also a writer and like film student. She's getting her MFA. So everyone say hi, Deanna.
Hi, Deanna.
Can she hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love her.
All right.
Hello.
Cool. Yeah, Deanna, if you can hear us, maybe let us just give us a confirmation. It should be fine. I'm seeing levels and everything. So it should be good.
Start from the top.
I'm John Olson. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Rochelle Racine, and Jose Venulo. You know what we might have to do for this one is just chop off that first chunk so that
I'm sorry. I just
post the video.
I just simply can't miss this opportunity. I am Jose Venutulo, and this is the Groundhog episode again. We just by chance of the universe just enter into the first loop of our never-ending
let's
about Groundhog Day.
All right, yeah, we're protesting. Wear your masks.
Yeah, wear your fucking masks.
Wear your masks. The coronavirus is still out there. The head count, by the way, is near 100,000. Like, to put that in perspective, this thing will pass the amount of deaths from the Civil War, right? Like, before it's done, it will do that. Something like 150,000 Americans died in the Civil War, and everybody like has gone on and on about how like more people died in the Civil War than like all of our other wars combined. So, like, take it seriously, right? 3,000 people died on 9/11, right? God knows how many have followed in the wake of that tragedy, but like almost 100,000 Americans have died. And like way more are infected. Hospitals are overloaded. God knows how many people are dying from things that are entirely preventable from other, because the hospitals don't have room to take in patients. Like, if you go outside, please don't spread your disease, wear your mask. Like, and I feel like part of me feels like, go ahead and be stupid, just go catch the coronavirus. But the logical part of me says no, because you'll spread it to other people.
Yeah, totally. Right. You know what I don't understand? Like, how the fuck did this turn into a partisan issue?
It's because Democrats live in cities, which are highly populated and more likely to get diseases.
Okay.
I think that's...
You know what I think? I think it's because the other side's fucking dumb and they have rocks in it.
Right. Well, there's a lot of mixed messaging coming from the top, shall we say.
The biggest disease that we have in this country in humanity is not the things that can kill us biologically, it's the way that some people think.
Deep.
Right.
Nope. Deep. So deep.
Deep.
We touched on that.
Groundhog Day. It is a film about a guy who just can't seem to get through the day. Actually, he gets through it, but then he has to do it all over again, much like we're doing with this live stream right now.
Right.
Brilliant. Like, I am so pleased by this. I think
he planned it.
The acceptance phase.
Acceptance, yeah. At least for the time being, right? Before we repeat the cycle. I had a really nice insight at the beginning of this show. I feel like I've already done a lot of talking on the new one, but I guess that is my nature. But I'm going to go over it again, that the film was structured around the 5 stages of grief, which are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. And we spent some time talking about how it relates to the world at large and where are we. Rochelle, you want to kind of give us a version of your wonderful insight on that?
Yeah. So the stages of grief, unlike contrary to popular belief, they are not linear. So you don't start there and end up at acceptance. It's just not how that works. Like, the humans' emotions and our brain and like all of that is just like far too complicated to do something so complex in such a linear fashion. So we continually like jump back and forth through each one. And, over time, each step, for lack of a better word right now, even though I just lectured you on it not being linear, either takes hold or it becomes lessened. And this is just like the progression of it, I guess you can say. Like, some days you're going to be more depressed, and some days you're going to be like, woo, quarantine is the most fun I've ever had, So like, this goes for any type of grief, whether it's like you're losing someone or like you're in this kind of situation we're in right now. Like, don't sit here and assume that it is linear, because you will get yourself into a huge psychological mess if you do that. I guess that was my point.
Yeah. Oh, and you had mentioned that you like feel like you go through this whole cycle each week.
Yeah. So you were saying that you were like, you felt like you were in the...
I'm stuck in bargaining.
Bargaining? Well, like, I feel like I do this every week.
Yeah. I actually agree. I actually agree with that sentiment. That not every week is the same, but I feel like most weeks I go through most of those things.
Like this time, I didn't go through the acceptance phase, and I stayed really like hardcore in the bargaining depression phase.
Yeah. This has been a better week for me. If we're getting into kind of quarantine therapy talk, like there have definitely been some like really depressed weeks, but I've started reading again. I put down my video games for a little bit, and I feel a lot better mentally. I hate to kind of imply that video games are bad for you, but that's just been the result of what's happened to me recently. Is
excess is bad for you, except for reading.
Yeah, knowledge is good. I've been pouring through old... I never used to reread books, like, ever. I just, like, why reread a book when there's more books than you can ever read in a lifetime? But I've started rereading some books, and I'm actually enjoying the experience a lot. Just a side note. So Groundhog's Day, I guess if we want to track back around to it, I counted 33 days in this film. The trivia on IMDb said there were 38, but I think they cheated in the way that they tallied and they made assumptions, because there's definitely a couple of scenes that they feel like they could be different days, but they're in chronological order of the day. So I didn't count those. I just kind of was like tallying as I went, and I made a few notes about like kind of when things happen. When you watch, or when like this movie sits with you for a while, I feel like it feels like a lot more days are on display than you actually watch in the moment, right? They imply a lot of days, but things happen faster than I remembered them happening. Like it's something like on day 6, the 6th day that we see that he does the bank robbery bit, right? The first like 3 days we see pretty linearly, and on the 3rd day is when he goes crazy and gets arrested. Like he does it faster than you might remember, or like than it feels. There's something about this movie that
he goes there faster.
Yeah. What are you gonna say, Rochelle?
Stage of Grief is that where he's like breaking the law and stealing the money and stealing the car with the groundhog.
Wait, what was the first part?
Which Stage of Grief is that? When he's like.
I think he's in the anger stage at that point.
Yeah.
I think bargaining happens, like, it's hard to say.
I think bargaining happens when he tries to convince Rita for the first time. When he's like not trying to make a move on her, but he's just trying to get an ally. That's bargaining. It's like, this is happening to me. I need somebody to believe me. Then they go to bed together, and then she goes like, "Oh, it's midnight. I thought you were gonna disappear." That's him bargaining, because he doesn't try to do anything except just being with her. He's just not being completely like the transformation, but at least he's not being a douche.
Yeah, but he goes through the suicides first. I feel like the suicides are also bargaining. Like he's just trying to find a way out. You know,
yeah, right.
Like those are. I think the anger is like when he first, like he goes through denial pretty quick. Like the 2nd day is all about denial. And then the 3rd day he kind of hits like anger and just like, goes for a joyride with the 2 drunk guys. And I think the bulk of this movie is the middle stage of bargaining. But also it kind of relates to what you were saying before, that it's not entirely linear. Like he kind of bounces between them.
Yeah. I find it interesting that he hit the anger stage so quickly. Like I think that for me, when I deal with grief, that's like one of the last things that I feel like as far as my progression, and I spend, for the most part, it depends on the situation, the least amount of time in there. Like if we're talking about current social issues that that we're seeing in the Midwest right now, I will live in anger in that kind of situation. But like in the COVID thing, like anger's barely there. When my dad passed, anger's barely there. So I just find it interesting that he just like dove into that so quickly. And I think that says a lot about his like character and like really who that guy is at his core. He hates himself, and he even admits that.
Yeah. Like he is someone who just doesn't appreciate the world around him, right? He's always elsewhere. I'm too good for this. I'm headed up to the big studio. Like, like part of it you can kind of like write off his like diva nature, but yeah, he's so disconnected that like, of course he would get angry. Like he's being punished. Why? Why is he being punished? Yeah, the denial stage is a little hard to pinpoint because it feels more like disbelief on that whole second day,
Yeah.
like which would be perfectly natural, of course. Um, and then depression. It's like he clearly hits rock bottom with the old man, right? Like I feel like he goes through all the stages again with the old man, like
Great.
because he's trying to like he gets angry that the guy died on this day. He's like denial, not today, and then he's trying to bargain to like keep him alive, and he just keeps dying, and it's like he hits that depression. I teared up, by the way, at this scene. Like it gets me. Um, it's not his father, by the way. I saw that in the.
Yeah. Okay, so I went back about that, and which I find interesting. He speaks to his elders, like this is what he calls his elders, like pop or mom or something like that. Which for someone who's as shitty as a person as he is in the beginning, I don't understand that. So is it like a sarcastic thing?
What's that, Jose? Oh,
I agree that it's weird that he starts doing that with him, but I mean, I don't know.
He's
maybe
so casual about it that it seems like it must just be an affectation from an earlier time that we're a little young for.
I think it might be something that got cut out in the cutting room. Maybe that will make this more sense. I mean,
I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe it's just kind of how.
He does the same thing to the woman that runs the Airbnb. He calls her Ma. So, like, yeah, maybe it's even like a Midwestern thing because I don't know nothing about their.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Though, okay, as much as like, so I have like a running list of 10 out of 10 movies, I call it. So, movies that are just kind of perfect the way they are. I added this to that list right away. But even in a 10 out of 10 movie, there are things that can bug you. One of the things that kind of always got, just like it tickles the back of my brain a little bit, and like again on this rewatch, is the old man. How does he deal with the old man on the perfect day? Right? Like it goes directly from like the final death we see of him where he's crying on him and he's like trying to give him CPR in the alley. It goes from that to the last day. Like there's no in between. And like we spent so much time on that last day, essentially it is act 3, that I guess you can kind of forget, but it always kind of bothered me. Like what, how did he deal with that on the last day? Like, did he just ignore that guy? Like clearly he still died.
Yeah.
I
had the same thought. Like why did we just leave that? Like I cried. I am emotionally attached to this now. Like throw me a bone.
Yeah. It's just like it is like I think that is the moment he hits acceptance though, in some respects.
Of course. But like kind of illuminate on it a little bit more, dude. Like,
Yeah, I just kind of thought like maybe it could have used some addressing. And for all we know, they did address it and they just went like, this bogs down the third act and, we can't get around to, the relationship. Like it doesn't feel like, maybe it just didn't feel like the pieces fit together.
Right. Maybe they wanted to kind of keep it open-ended like they did with like the beginning and like how long that he was actually there and like these kind of things that the audience is just kind of left to.
Yeah, there's a lot that you are just kind of left to fill in for yourself, right? So,
it works.
Yeah, it works. Jose, you got a thought?
No, I was saying that. I mean, I'm seeing it the exact same way that you guys have seen it. I'm seeing it like that was him getting into acceptance. There are things that I can change, there are things that I cannot change. As many times as I get a shot at these, there are things that I just simply cannot get.
Yeah.
And then after the acceptance, so I mean, does it? If every day it's the same, and he has no particular idea that the day is going to change or not, then maybe that that last perfect day is meaningful to us because we got to watch it the last perfect day. So we have no idea how many times he have ignored this guy, or if he did something to this guy. The point is that it's almost irrelevant at that point because he accepted that was going to happen. Nothing that he did was going to change it. So that was an act of kindness that would have been a last thing for a man that will be again tomorrow. Like every act of like the thing that gets me sometimes is that every act of kindness that he does, it's erased whenever the thing gets resetted. Yeah. So that might be a testimony that he's selfless about what he's doing, but it also could be just simply part of the stages. Like if you were trapped in a never-ending circle, at some point you will do atrocious things, and at another point you will just do nice things. Like you will go through all these things before your mind just drifts away and you have tried everything possible. So I don't really know how much I want to believe that this man completely change opposite to this man is just going through one of the normal iterations that would happen within infinity. You know what I mean? Like it's like give him the next day, like if it's February 2nd, like a true testament of who he is looking at who he is on February 3rd.
Yeah. Though I mean we just get a hint, right? That he comes out and he does appreciate that it's different.
Right. He says anything is good. He said anything different is good.
Yeah. And now but also like he's not in a rush to leave. Like the town has become his home. He knows the people there. He's like, let's move here. You know? Right? He just becomes so familiar with it that it's like, even though he's glad for the difference, he still loves that place, right? He knows it better than anybody.
Do you think maybe it's a bit of Stockholm syndrome, though? Like
maybe.
I mean, on top of the fact that this guy probably depleted his entire savings in that single day because money means nothing to him. He bought so much insurance from this guy, get these people think like he's
gonna go and cancel all that insurance.
Hey, he's gonna go cancel everything because he's just like, what the I don't know. It's a little bit. I mean,
he's not gonna refund on those WrestleMania tickets.
He's still living without. He was like, even when he was trapped in within one day, he was still living without consequences. Neither the good or the bad that he did reflected on anything but his own mind. So this journey is simply his. Now it can go in a completely different directions. Like you could turn into a very good person or a very evil person if nothing that you do has consequences. But the moment that what you do has consequences, then it's a different thing because now you want to do an act of kindness, and then you don't know if it's going to be bad. The same way that you might.
But he was doing things based on consequences that he would see during the day, right? It's like he saw that he could make the town happier, and like just even if he could only do it for that one day, even if maybe tomorrow I'll be too tired to make this happy for everybody. Like he did it for others. It's like he did it so that he would be surrounded by happiness. Like that lesson that like when you help others, you help yourself, right? He learns that lesson deeply because when he goes on the nihilistic path, right? Like it doesn't make him feel any better. But when he goes on this journey of like helping people, he gets that feedback, right? Jose, you and I have had discussions about this in the past where it's like everything we do is selfish, right? But like you can still, I'm a firm believer that we're all selfish pricks, but that we can channel that selfishness to do good. When you realize that like there are very clear reasons in a selfish world to do good for others. Like it does come back to you, and we are communal, and like we do get that kind of positive feedback when we see happiness around us, I have
to say though that being selfish, depending on the type of selfish behavior you are exuding, is not a bad thing. Like I'm gonna say something super fucking cliche, but
that's what I'm saying.
From an empty cup, straight up. So like you have to have that bit of selfishness in you to be able to like do these good things in the world. It's just what you make with what you're getting yourself at the end of the day. No.
Right. Because we're all the protagonists of our own story, like, you know, when you do something and it makes people happy, it makes you feel good, you know, and you can use that selfishness to continue to do more good. It's just about channeling it. You know, it's like selfishness, I don't think is inherently good or bad. It's a survival mechanic that's built into us. And it's just part of the condition of being an individual.
Acceptance. You have to accept that you are selfish in order to stop being selfish, right? Yeah. You have to accept that everything that you do has to come back to you, and inherently or inevitably it will. So then you try to do things that will come back in a better way.
Honestly, this is why I consider myself a liberal. It's because I understand that, like, when you add something positive to a community, it comes back to you. You know, like, as soon as you start kind of like getting into this idea that, like, I need to get what's mine, you actually hurt yourself in the long run. Like, it's counterproductive, you know? I just wish that, like, our society could get on board with this idea that, like, it's good for all of us to be good to all of us. You know, channel your selfishness, channel your ego for good. That's the lesson of this movie.
Hold on, I have to correct myself because it's going to drive me mad if I don't. So when I said Stockholm syndrome, I meant agoraphobia. Thank you.
I thought Stockholm syndrome worked, though.
I mean, let me snap this one, John.
Agoraphobia.
Both of them work. He has agoraphobia and Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
But Stockholm syndrome more like towards like an individual person or like a
well, towards the town, right? The town is his persecutor that he's fallen in love with because it tortured him. Okay. You know, I think you landed on the perfect analogy, even if by accident.
You're just freaking me out.
Definitely both of them. I don't know. There are issues with. I mean, it's not that kind of movie. Even when it won't be perfect. You know, it's like trying to make sense of Back to the Future's like timeline. It's just like you need to accept it at some point and be like, this is full of paradoxes and conundrums and stuff. But you know, there are things
perfect like for this show.
Yeah, we were talking in the previous version of this show. Of this episode, we're talking about how Rita's character, by today's, like, it's presented as an example of conservative values, and then one of the things, but she was also extremely judgmental in certain aspects when she compared herself to her choices to the choices that he does. One thing that did caught my attention is that there is in the day that he's trying, the day that we're following, that he has the intention, he wants to sleep with her, so he wants to convince her that he's in love with her and everything, and he tells her that he loves her. She, like, her reaction, it's like, you can't, like, it's been a day.
Yeah.
But then when he does it at the end, he tells her that he loves her, and then she accepts that. I mean, by the moment that they wake up the next day, it's like, it almost makes you feel like she had lived longer this experience with him than she had, but it's also still just being a day. And this is actually the last day that we see is a day that he spent less time with her than the day that he was dedicating to her. So it feels like,
because she sees his genuineness, right? Like, when he spends all of the time doting on her and courting her, it's obvious that he wants to sleep with her, right? And it just becomes like she's like trying to go like, I'll go with this, and like, you know, if he doesn't push it too hard, I'll know he's genuine, right? And on the last day, he doesn't push it at all, and she just sees all of the selflessness kind of coming out of him. I think that's where the writers were going.
Yeah, yes, but that makes her the character that makes her the judge. Like the thing that ends.
She kind of is his judge, right?
The thing that ends the cycle is that she doesn't reject him. Like, she is the judge of who a good and a bad person is, which inherently means that she is the ultimate truth, between good and bad. She is the values. She is the objective. She is the.
Jose.
God.
What?
Say that again.
I said she's God, even though he thought he was God. Remember in that?
She's God.
Yeah, she's God.
Yeah, she had
his God.
God is a woman.
So you mentioned I can't remember if this was before the audio issue or not. That you said Christian groups or Christians like this movie. What I actually read is that religious groups in general, not just Christians, but a lot of religious groups reached out to Harold Ramis to thank him for the film, and were really appreciative of it. And I think there's an interesting kind of question there, because the film doesn't really get religious. And it just kind of has these human values, right?
And conservative values, we need to get married and breed and all these things. And the man is the man of the house, I went off on a tangent in the first version of this episode. Where I got really pissed at Rita's monologue when she was discussing with him what type of man she wanted in her future partner, and it was just such
adequate
shit. It was just I just want him to be a living, breathing human being as far as I can see. But one of the things that really set me over the top when she said she wants a husband that will change the kids' diapers, as if this is some fucking newly discovered rocket science, what? What?
It's just called being decent.
Just called being a fucking parent. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I didn't even know where I was going with this. I get really heated about this, as you can see. But I don't know. I think that's maybe why the religious groups love it, is because it props up this the man is the man of the house, the woman is the nurturer. Everybody needs to get married, and she's saving herself for the right time, and just all this bullshit that people still buy into these days, especially.
This movie's patriarchal, is what you're saying.
I'm sorry?
Movie's patriarchal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The values, and even her values are patriarchal. If she is God and she is a Western God, she's definitely patriarchal.
Yeah. Well, okay.
She comes from. If there's any God that comes from the Middle East,
surface it is. For the average moviegoer, let's be real, which is most of the world. At surface level, it is. But if she is the God, then it's a lot deeper, and the complete antithesis of that, right? Yeah. It would take an intelligent person to see that, I think, at the end of the day.
I think that this is a movie about, in general, becoming a good person and becoming someone selfless. And he does do things that fall very nicely in line with a lot of religions, that it rejects his suicides. He tries to kill himself, and it's just nope, can't do that. Yeah. His hubris is rejected. It's he gets kind of ultimately no satisfaction out of being a bad person. It just, it leads him to constantly keep doing this, right? And obviously it's got to be hard to do the same day over and over. We're having a hard time just doing the same conversation one more time. How impossible is this scenario? It's mind-bogglingly impossible.
I want just thought real quick that I find interesting. What is driving him every day to get up and do this for 10 years? How many times did he just roll over and go back to bed?
Probably a lot.
I would fucking do that. A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm guessing that there were a lot of denial stage days where he just didn't do anything. But there's some insidious things happening here also. He can't make long distance calls. He can't take a hot shower. Oh my God. I would have gone to every establishment, every home in the entire town until I could find some goddamn hot water to take a decent shower or a bath. Cause Oh my god, just cold all the time.
I have to say though that I totally forgot about life on like a landline, and like when they kept having that problem, I was like, oh yeah, like that was the thing.
Right? He doesn't have like he can't take it to the forum, right? He can't shout it on Twitter. He can't even make a long distance call. Remember long distance calls? Nowadays all calls are long distance calls, but
Wow.
yeah.
I remember it would be like costing a fortune just to call like Vermont for my grandmother, you know?
Yeah, I remember when it was rare that you would dial outside your own area code.
Yeah.
Right.
You'd get charged extra. Like,
You know, and another thing, and one thing that this movie plays the exact same way that Back to the Future plays it, which is kind of like, we know this doesn't make sense, but you get the point, is that he keeps changing the routine of the day, but he keeps encountering the exact same like moments throughout the day. You know, like he takes his time the first day, and then he gets to the homeless guy, then to Ned, then he gets to then he gets to the park when they are exactly. He always gets to places exactly at the same moment, regardless of how much have changed in how fast or slow he's doing the beginning of the day.
yeah.
So he's always like, how is it possible that?
I think that it's a convenience thing. I think it's a
it's a thing. It's exactly like it's playing on repetition to teach us something.
yeah. You have to give it a little leeway. Like I think Back to the Future is a good reference point for that because you got to give Back to the Future a lot. You know, you gotta suspend a lot of disbelief in Back to the Future to appreciate it. But it's charming enough that you can do that, and I think this movie falls very similarly, kind of in that line.
Totally.
Yeah.
Did we touch on Chris Elliott in this take or the first take?
No, we haven't.
Oh right, Chris.
We have.
What a shame, Chris Elliott. Yeah, we talked a little bit about the side characters. Chris Elliott, who is the camera guy in this one, being far less skeevy than he would later go on to be. You know, I usually think of Chris Elliott as the guy from Something About Mary because, like, I don't know if it happened before that movie, but for sure from that movie on, he's just like the ultimate disgusting, skeevy creeper. Like, he just.
Schitt's Creek.
Like,
oh, he's in that?
Yeah, and he exact.
Oh, that's right. You know, I did watch the pilot, and he's like, he makes me cringe so hard, and not as much in this movie. Along those lines, actually, while I'm on it, of actors who usually make me cringe, Andy McDowell, did not bother me hardly at all in this movie. I feel like she's oftentimes the worst part of a good movie. My go-to example is Four Weddings and a Funeral, which is an amazing film, phenomenal, except for Andy McDowell. But she's just kind of the worst. So, but in this movie, yeah, I actually enjoyed her. I thought it worked. I kind of bought it. I was like kind of surprised on this rewatch to have just kind of enjoyed her in a movie.
What about C. Walter Scott?
C. Walter Scott. Who does he play?
No, Sir Walter Scott. Like she goes into like he's eating all these stuff, and then she goes like, "Oh, I love coming and seeing a man throwing caution out of the window," and then she
quotes
Sir Walter Scott to shame him about the decisions that he's doing. And he goes like, "You think I'm self-centered?" And then the whole thing just crumbles apart. Because like that's the first that's the first moment where I had an issue with that character. I go like, you are going out of your way to make this man feels bad about his decisions. On top of the fact that if you think about it, like all that this guy is saying Like, I like the way that
she has every reason. I'm gonna push back a little bit. She has every reason to be pissed off at him. He literally didn't do his job. Like, from her point of view, he walked up and he went, "Not doing it. I'm going to the diner." Like, he just straight up, like, and so of course she's gonna like give him a bunch of crap. Like, you skipped work to come here and eat everything at the diner.
Like, was that day, because Chris Elliott's character was not at least pissed off with him. When he I don't
was it
think that
not
was
the same day?
I think she was just criticizing the fact that.
Oh, you're right. That's later. We don't. We actually don't know for that day if he did or not. But like, you know, he's a dick to her every day at work, and then he's just being kind of his cavalier self. You had mentioned something earlier, Jose, that I wanted to touch on, which was that, like, she how quickly she falls in love with him at the end. There is a hint at one point that she says she has deja vu.
Yeah.
Right? There is this sense that, like...
So is this like The Good Place? They keep some of they keep the sensation.
It might be.
Maybe she just does because she's God, you know?
She is God. She is God.
Right. Because she determines when it's okay to release him.
I kind of like Dory vibes from like Finding Nemo, how like she forgets everything like every 5 seconds.
My only problem with the her being God theory is that what prompted her to start his punishment? Because we don't really see him be all that bad to her. Like, he's kind of sarcastic. He makes jokes.
Maybe when she was taking the piss out, he was taking the piss out of her for the gopher groundhog, whatever that animal is, the groundhog thing that she.
It's in the title, Rochelle.
Yes.
Whatever. Maybe then. Or maybe it was just like an amalgamation of just what all the stupid little things that he did that finally just like set it off for her, you know? It's like, I mean, my hate grows for him pretty quickly. I don't know about you guys, but like, I'm like, hate you. Oh, hate you more. Oh, now I definitely hate you, you know? Like, maybe it was just a build up.
I like how the movie, like, seemingly effortlessly establishes that he is in need of improvement as a human being. It's pretty... I don't know. I feel like effortless is a good way to describe the way this movie feels. Yeah. You know, it just, like, everything just kind of feels like it's working as you're watching it. Like, it all just makes sense, and it's very easy to roll kind of with the punches.
So, like, what do you think is the relation between these characters, like the choice of making this character a weatherman? Like, is this like, and also
I think it's so to answer, like, I think that it feeds into his delusional hubris, if you will, because there's clearly a storm coming in, and as the weatherman, he gets to predict the weather, and he's like, the storm's gonna blow right past us. Like, he even says, he's like, I am the weather. Like, you know, like, I think it's something to do with that, to where it's like, he's so adamant that he puts them on the road, and like, it's just like he's forced to be wrong.
So, like, can we argue that this movie, I mean, and again, like this will not only go specifically to religious group, but can we argue then that he's been getting punished for playing God, like by
a little bit,
impersonated by her? Like, he tries to.
I think it also contributes to the ridiculousness of his ego, that he thinks he's so much better than everybody, but he's just a weatherman. He's not even like one of the main anchors.
Right.
Like.
Right. He's like he exalts himself, and then he's gonna be pushed to the back, you know, like the Bible says.
Yeah, like, you know, sorry for any weathermen that may watch the show at any point, but there is kind of this sense that, like, the weatherman's, you know, kind of low on the totem pole at the news station.
maybe the movie is more Christian than we think it is. Maybe it's like maybe she is a representation of God. Maybe she's the one who needs to be convinced. Maybe he's playing to be God and he needs to be humble.
Well, Harold Ramis's just on that note, Harold Ramis's films are pretty conservative as a whole. Like Ghostbusters is chock full of conservative values. So it doesn't surprise me too much, and it doesn't make me like the movie any less, to be.
Real quick, you know what? I'm leaning into this that she's God a little bit more because they meet each other essentially for the first time in the beginning of the film. Like he doesn't know who she is.
She's new, right? She's the new girl.
The new producer at the news station. And so like this trip, the first time that they are now getting to know each other. And he's not interested in getting to know her. He's interested in, being.
I love how all in you guys are on this theory.
No, yeah. Because then what does she do? He's on a blue screen, and then she's wearing the blue thing, and then she's playing being on the clouds. She's in the freaking clouds, and she's like her head in the clouds, and then she smiles at him, and she's all silly. She's God. No, she's God. He needs to love God. He needs to.
And her perfect man is just somebody who's willing to pull his own weight.
Yeah. Just like what a cute.
Wow.
Okay. That little monologue.
He does refer to her as an angel. He says, "In the snow, you look like an angel."
Yeah.
He's God. She's
the
God.
subtext is growing by the second, y'all.
This movie is about a man who needs to find the love for God and not himself.
He has to be selfless, right? And then he will be rewarded for it, right? He's Job, right? He's made to suffer.
But it's also
he's not being selfless because he's still doing these things like robbing banks and stuff, but then it like turns into him using that money for good, right? So
I don't think by the end that he's robbing banks.
No, I think he's no. I don't think so either.
I get the feeling that he learns, he learns his lesson and stops being an asshole. So it's like when he does kind of decide to make the turn.
Okay.
That's my thought.
It's interesting because it does. I'm leaning a little more towards this premise also because I like this premise, but it's also undeniable that the way that this deity is trying to be loved is by torturing somebody for 10 years until he has no other choice.
Very biblical. Here's a question.
It's either my way or the fucking highway, or not even highway. You're gonna be doing this until you do it the way that I want it.
Yeah. Here's a question. On his last day, does he kick out the little girl piano student to get his lesson?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
I mean, he might have figured out a better time to go visit, but I do love that scene where she's just like, bye.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, get out. I need my grand. How much was that back in 93?
It'd probably be like $3,000 by now.
Probably more. I don't know.
It's hard to gauge. It's hard to actually gauge inflation. It's such a nebulous thing.
Yeah, inflation. I mean, it's impossible to calculate. Apparently, nobody actually knows. There's no calculation. Nobody knows about these things. Right?
Real.
This is why we bring you on, Jose. To give us the facts.
Yeah, I like to discredit science about everything that they do. Fun.
Fair, yeah, fair.
Fun.
This Groundhog Day is still a practice where they like bring out the. Okay, hold on. One thing I need to say is, how did he see his shadow on a overcast day?
I don't know. I don't even understand because in the ritual they pull him out and they talk to him. Like there's no moment where he like actually sees a shadow or not.
Yeah, like they just talk to him. Yep, whatever. Yeah. Okay, anyways. So like
and apparently the odds are in favor of 6 more weeks of winter.
Yeah. Well, because they fucking like
there's almost never an early spring.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, where they live, yeah. Like that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah, just like in the actual like weather table.
Yeah.
Well, 2020 was an early spring.
Wait, what?
This year was an early spring. I mean, we barely had a winter, remember?
Yeah. We had a lot of rain around
very,
here.
very weird.
Like prior to like climate change really catching up with us now. Okay, so I want to know if this practice is still a thing, and if it is, like, why isn't PETA like more involved in ending this? No,
I don't think it's particularly cruel. Like they literally just kind of lift him up and give him a hug, and then put him back in his cage.
But like that's his sole purpose, right?
Yeah,
like
but they don't eat him afterward.
No, but they don't like zoos either. And like San Diego Zoo and what is that zoo? The big one in Australia? Like those animals have better health care than every single American. And yet they still don't appreciate that. Not to mention like the research that goes into these animals in order to like save their species at the end of the day. Like they still don't.
For all I know, PETA does hate this. But I just said
it's like the low in the totem pole compared to like factory farming and everything.
Yeah.
We don't
ask Alicia Silverstone. See if she hates it.
I mean, isn't the name like people for the ethical treatment of animals? So,
Yeah.
so as long as an animal is being treated ethically, they should have no issue, right?
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's becoming more than that. I think it's just don't touch animals, period.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like that's where they are now. You know?
yeah. I mean that's their reputation. I don't really profess to know a lot about PETA. Like,
Yeah, no,
you know,
like I know
I've seen some of the ads that they have, like the anti-wool ads that they've got in New York City. You know, they've got some of these where like, I referenced Alicia Silverstone because she's their like spokesperson, and she's like naked, and it's like, you know, no wool. I guess they'd rather us use plastic.
I know. Like
Good.
I mean, look, I care about the animals a lot. I feel like more than a lot of people. I don't eat mammals, like, because of the way that we treat them in like livestock pens and shit. I think there's like a Holocaust going on that nobody wants to address because there's a lot of human problems going on also on top of that. So, you know, I'm all for the better treatment of animals, but, you know, I do think that there's, you know, a sensibility line where like,
right.
you know, like,
Right.
is giving sheep a haircut bad? No. If you like punch and kick them while you do it, then yeah. Like, and so like, if for all I know, like the places that make wool are doing exactly that, because like that exact stuff does happen on dairy farms and like meat farms with cows. Like, you know, they're just treated like objects. If they don't cooperate, they just like beat them mercilessly. So for all I know, there is that kind of thing happening. I haven't researched it enough, but
I think that it will be like wonderfully ironic if we just figure out that you don't eat mammals, you just hunt them for sport.
I would hunt them for survival. Like, you know, if society truly broke down, I would probably start with the deer that cross through the yard all the time where I'm at.
Trees.
But you know, I would do it like the old Native Americans, where like, you know, you're reverent about it and you try to use all the elements and like, you know.
I mean, this is like people in.
I'd feel bad about it.
Anyway, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's also like a moral legend.
Everybody's got their line. Look, I went to the cannibal exhibit when it came to town in New York City, and like people, or no, this was in San Diego. We went to the cannibal exhibit, and yeah, it was in San Diego, and like when people are desperate, they will eat other people. Like,
Yeah.
99 out of 100, no, more than that. 999 out of 1,000 cases of cannibalism are like people lost at sea. And they have to eat their shipmates. So I would eat mammals in a survival scenario. There you go. I don't hunt them for sport. I might hunt you for sport someday, Jose.
Yes. I know. I would probably deserve it, but
Yeah.
you know.
Excited. He's like, yes, hunt me.
No. It's like, let the game begin.
Let's go to the sea.
I mean, honestly, if we were chopped on a ball, Jose, I would have to eat you because I don't have as much meat. Like, I like,
That
you
is
know.
true. That is true.
I'll always start with the buttocks.
How are you going to sit down?
No, them.
What's
Eat
that?
You eat their ass first.
I don't want to eat Jose's ass.
Stop backing down.
Oh my God, this take a turn. This take a turn.
All right. Goodness gracious, what an episode we've had today. I'm gonna just look real quick here, see if there's anything I'm dying to list. I think we've run long enough. We'll chop off that first 40 minutes when we repost the video. So most of you will not have seen, and this might be a very strange episode, but I think it's been a fun one for us. I had a lot of fun.
But check it, because maybe what you recorded actually has our voices in it, and maybe just the streaming wasn't working.
No, because the stream is what we record. So whatever's coming out is the part that's recording. I could hold it separately, but it would just wind up eating up so much hard drive space that I haven't done that.
I see what you mean.
And also, I don't think it would have because of the way the settings were laid out. So, Jose, where can the people find you? I'm just going to cut to this. Or no, before we do that, we have some shout outs. Rochelle, take it away.
Thank you. Okay, so it was my brother AJ's birthday the other day. He is 20. I hope I'm not wrong. Maybe 19. Sorry, I should know your age, Anthony.
Happy 19 or 20.
Happy whatever birthday you have. And then he was a previous guest.
It's not 21 though. We know that.
Not 21 for sure.
Okay.
And then we had a previous guest on our show, or host, Jose Verdejo. Happy birthday. I think his birthday is this upcoming Friday.
Happy birthday, Jose.
Woo! Jose, wish Jose happy birthday.
My birthday? My birthday's in August.
No, she was giving you a command, not a question.
Oh, because I can't hear when we're talking at the same time.
Okay. Remember the other Jose?
Yeah, Jose, Jose B.
His birthday's on Friday.
But feliz cumpleaños.
And then last but not least, John and I's family member, Hassani. So this is your nephew, right? And my cousin.
He's my stepbrother.
Oh, he's your stepbrother.
No, I'm an idiot. He is my nephew.
Yeah, you are an idiot. He's your nephew.
He looks old enough to be, yeah. Hassani, I haven't seen you in forever. I miss you terribly. Congratulations on graduating high school in this very strange time to graduate high school. All the best luck.
Yes, all the best. We love you. Congratulations. Can't wait to see what you do in the next few years. Hope you're going to college. And congratulations in general to the class of COVID-19. Sorry you guys got
Yeah, seen lots of balloons around the neighborhood here. Lots of 2020 congrats and stuff. Man, what a weird time to do that. A very unique experience for them.
At least you guys will all bond over this 20 years from now.
Yeah.
You know? So that's nice.
It'll be a special thing for just, like college and high school grads this year. Yeah. Like, to have had to gone through that. Congratulations, Sonny. Is that everything?
No. Because I need, I'm going to post it on the comments.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Jose.
And you guys, I insist that we need to do an episode about this movie. I posted the link. I'm going to post the link of the...
Why don't you tell us about it since we're on the show?
Yeah, there's a lag on the feed, so like we can't see that for like another 5 minutes.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, that's for you to eventually watch.
What's this movie?
This movie is a Criterion Collection Japanese film, horror Japanese film from like, I don't remember if it's like 1976 or something like that, but it's considered a comedy more than it's considered a horror. It's in the Criterion Collection, and it was just pleasantly silly and goofy to watch. That I think that it's...
What's it called?
It's called House.
Okay.
Just House.
I was just waiting for you to say the title. And...
House. House. You need to watch this trailer. You need to watch this. You need to watch this movie, and then we need to talk about this movie, because what I'm proposing basically, it's the fact that instead of movies that we all know, or we know they're classic, maybe every once in a while try to pitch a movie that nobody has seen, nobody knows about, and then see what this brings to the table.
Totally.
And then I'm proposing this movie because I feel very few people will be like, oh, this was a waste of time. I think that it will be enjoyable to talk about like how, like you have to see it. You have to see it. I fell in love with this thing.
Okay. I'm down.
We'll think about it. I
do agree. Like once in a while, we need to like throw in.
We will see it. We will see it. Michelle and I will see it.
All right. I'll watch the trailer. How's that?
Okay.
And then I'll let you know how I feel about it. There was something else. Next week's film. So today we were stuck in Groundhog Day, and next week we will be moving onward to the movie Onward. I haven't seen it. Rochelle hasn't seen it. But our guest, who I'm gonna just tease that we know who our guest is, has seen it. All right. With all that said, join us next week while we talk about Onward and whatever the heck else we feel like. Jose, where can the people find you?
And I mean, right now I'm just being active on Instagram at JAVCH2, and then that's it. The rest, I haven't been active on. Thank you, guys.
Rochelle, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Rochelle Racine, linked below, or at Twitter at Rochelle, linked below.
I need to update to add your Instagram here.
We'll do that later. And don't forget to follow Views and Paradox on Instagram. You can send us any of your specific film requests.
Or Twitter.
Through either DMs, either on Twitter or on, what is the other one? Instagram. Or you can even write it in our group on Facebook at the Movie Club.
Yeah, go to look for the Movie Club Collective on Facebook. It is still kind of about our show, but it's also just a place where if you want to chat about movies, make recommendations to each other,
post related memes. Whatever.
Yeah. Post away, please. If you are using the socials, give us a look. You can find me at John in Paradox. That's John with no H. That's Twitter and Instagram, but much like Jose, I mostly just use the Instagram. All right, and what's our sign off, Rochelle?
Well, yours is watch more movies. Mine's happy viewing, and then it's was it cut? No, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Okay, watch more movies.
Happy viewing. That's a wrap.